Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to the Ennobling Business for Success Virtual Summit. We're thrilled to have you join us today, and our expert panelists are the authors of the dynamic and powerful Ennobling Business for Success. Stay tuned to discover how to inspire, ignite, and influence organization transformation. So without further ado, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce our summit host, Rebecca Hall-Gruyter. She's the CEO of RHG Media Productions and the founder of Your Purpose-Driven Practice, a global influencer, a #1 international best-selling author, publisher, and she's helped over 900 authors become bestsellers, a radio show host, an empowerment leader, and the creator of the Speaker Talent Search. Rebecca has personally contributed to 40 plus published books, multiple magazines, and has been quoted in major media such as the Huffington Post, ABC, NBC, Fox, and Thrive Global. Today and every day, she wants you to shine. And with that, Rebecca, take it away.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Misty, for your beautiful introduction. I am so honored to be here with each and every one of you. It's just an honor. Today, we're going to be talking about ennobling. How can we ennoble ourselves? How can we ennoble others? How can we create a ripple that echoes around the world? We have an opportunity every single day in how we choose to show up. We can't always choose what happens. We can't always choose what comes our way, but we can choose our response. We can choose where we're focusing our time, our energy, and our actions. So today, I want to invite us to be really mindful about how we're choosing to navigate, even how we're choosing to show up today, because it's not by chance or by accident that you're here today. You're here on purpose. You're tuning in because there's something here for you. And that's exciting to me. I hope it's exciting for you. So this is not going to be a passive sit back, hope something filters in. I want you actively leaning forward, ready to receive everything that's been lovingly prepared for you, because that's where we can start making a difference, taking in, integrating, receiving. And as that information and those insights and ahas moments kind of circle through us or filter in, come in, how are we responding to that? What are we doing as a result of what we're discovering today? Are we open to learning and discovering new things? Do we have our paper and pen ready to capture those new insights and ideas? I want to invite you, if you don't have your paper and pen ready, go grab it. There will be a replay, but let's take advantage of this moment, this time, to really capture everything that's being shared and that's bubbling up within you, because you're here for a reason and on purpose. You're tuning in because there's something here for you, but there's also something you can contribute or something you can do by participating. We want to hear from you. We want your questions. We want your thoughts, your ideas. So share them with us. If you're watching us on Facebook, we have a team watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, interact there, participate, let us know. We're here collected to support you. I look around the room of these amazing experts that have leaned into the conversation today, and they're smiling. They're leaning into you. They're open to serve and support. We're going to, in fact, share our contact information. So be listening when we do that. And it's not because that's just what you're supposed to do. It's because we actually want to connect with you. We want to serve you. We want to support you. We want to build connections and communities that help inspire, that influence, that make those connections. We can ignite a flame just with a spark that spreads around the world. And you're part of that. So please tune in, really be present, be open to receive. And I have an activity for those of you who are looking for, okay, Rebecca, I'm in, I want to participate, but let me know some of the ways to do that. So for those of you who like a little bit of direction, I'm going to invite you to get a piece of paper. I'm giving you a moment to grab one. On the top, I want you to write, today I choose ... So as we're going through our conversation today, I want, and you hear from different amazing experts, I want you to write down, what are you choosing? What are you claiming because of what we're learning and discovering together today? What are you going to claim? What are you choosing? And perhaps what activity will follow? On the other half, so you write that on top, and you can do the half either on the, like you're doing rows or columns. You can choose which half. So on the other half for you, I want you to write, what am I releasing? Because I want us to pay attention to what we're doing, because we are far more powerful than we know. Pay attention to where you focusing your energy, your time. Where are you visualizing? Are you visualizing? Are you looking forward to what you're going to build, what you're bringing into the world? What's the change you want to see? Are you spending energy on that? Are you listening to that? Are you visualizing it? Are you imagining it? Are you tasting it? Are you seeing it, sensing it? Are you really invested in bringing that forward? Or are you perhaps spending time on the things you worry about, that you're afraid of, that you don't want to see, and you're really concerned, and you're spending time nourishing that? And that actually can help it grow. So I want to invite us to pay attention to that as we go through our conversation today. What are the things that you're choosing to nourish instead? And what are you willing to release? It's served. We appreciate how it's served, but we're going to focus our energy here and listen to those things, whether you're in business or not, however you define yourself. We are all interacting with corporations, businesses, and organizations every single day. So how are we choosing to show up in that interaction, that conversation? What are we choosing to lean into? So this conversation is for all of us. And we're going to have each of our experts give tips about how in business we can show up in an ennobling way. How are we uplifting and ennobling others? How are we doing that for ourselves? And we're going to get a tip around personally, what can I do? What's a way that I can choose to walk in a way that ennobles myself and others? So kind of that business side and that personal side, because both are really important for what we're bringing forward. So you guys excited? Are you game? Okay, because I'm going to be checking on later on about our list. So you'll have an opportunity to do a powerful activity with it if you choose to take those notes, and really let's use this time, not put it on the list to someday do. Let's use this time. We were given it. We have today. Tomorrow is not a guarantee. Let's take action today. Let's be that change we want to see. Let's really take this to heart, that this is a sacred, special moment we have together today. Let's embrace it fully. Let's receive deeply. So to support you, let's take a breath in through the nose, all the way to your toes. I even move around a little bit, trying to get air into every cell in my body, even those that sometimes can get a little stiff. I don't know if that happens to you, but sometimes we can, tense up a little bit. So move around, take that breath in and out, become present. Let that oxygen support you. Release any of those distractions. This is your time. We claim it for you. All those other things can wait. Receive what is yours. So let's take one more breath. And I invite you to close your eyes this time. Pretend I can see you if you don't. Close your eyes. I close them so I'm not distracted. But if it makes you uncomfortable, you can watch us. It's fine. But close your eyes. I put both hands in my heart, kind of in my center. And feel in a minute as you feel your heartbeat. And in between the beats of your heart, what is it, as you listen and breathe, that you need today? As I mentioned, ennobling, coming together, that we can choose what we bring forward and focus on. Just see, as you receive that, what is it you need? What will encourage you, empower you, ennoble you, support you on your journey? What do you need? Don't have to worry about the how. We're going to help you with that. But what is it that you need? Beautiful. Tune in, receive. Wonderful. Take another breath. Come back into the room, eyes open, fully present, pen ready, your beautiful paper ready for all those fabulous notes that you're going to be taking. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our amazing group and cast of attendees, or I should say participants, amazing experts that have leaned in to come together to unite. And I think that's powerful in of itself, that when we come together to serve in a common, powerful way, it makes such an amazing difference. I want you to feel that collective support as we come together to lean into you. And I'm really excited to talk a little bit about this ennobling business for success. What inspired this? So Dr. Kasturi Henry, you'll hear us tell her Dr. Cass, Dr. Kasturi. We kind of use those terms interchangeably. They're all Dr. Kasturi. And she had a vision of how can we ennoble ourselves? How can we ennoble others? And how can we ennoble businesses and make a difference that inspires, that ignites, that creates influence, that creates a dynamic change? And so she decided, I want to find amazing leaders and experts that are willing to come together under this purpose and share. And that's created the anthology Ennobling Business for Success that was recently released. And it became, and I'm going to read this because it achieved so many amazing things, it became a #1 international bestseller, #1 international bestseller, reaching best-selling status in 9 countries. Not one, not two, not three, 9 countries. For those who want to know, it's US, Australia, Canada, India, UK, Brazil, Germany, Mexico, and France. Best-selling status, reaching 133 best-selling categories, which congratulations to all the authors, to Dr. Cass, to everyone involved. That's just such a huge accomplishment. And it's rippling out into the world. And of those 133 categories, 29 of them were ranking #1. Just huge accomplishment and exciting to see such a need as well out there in the world for this message. And so that inspired this summit. Let's bring some of those amazing authors together and share some of their wisdom and some of their insight. One of the things I love about Dr. Kasturi, who's led this project and really brought it forward in just incredible, empowered ways, is we first met a while back. And one of the things that just struck me personally so deeply about her is her passion for helping connect and lift others up, and this core foundational belief that the reason she's a success and all the different accolades, and I'm just going to mention a few of them, all the different things that she's achieved, which is really powerful and impressive, is because she knows who she is. She focuses on who she being, and was ennobled by others and is committed to ennobling others on their journey and helping them have that core knowing of who they are, because that gives you clarity, direction, and purpose. You know what to say yes and no to because you know fully where you stand. And she is that way. So every time you hear her speak, it's grounded. You know it's coming from the core of who she is and the mission that she's bringing forward. So, dear friend of mine, I'm really honored to more formally introduce you so you know just a taste of some of those things that she's accomplished and bringing forward. Let me just share a little bit about her. So, #1 international bestselling author multiple times over. She is an international podcast host, multiple networks, platforms, and stations. She is a sought after member of the Forbes Coaches Council, Six Sigma Black Belt, CEO of Cass Henry Incorporated, founder of Ennobled for Success Institute in the US. And her area of business expertise include business change management, financial strategy, and business process improvement. She has helped manage global leadership changes and transformations in different parts of the world with different companies and organizations. She is a professor that helps, a graduate professor that helps in all different kinds of areas, from the private sector to the public sector to the nonprofit sectors. And she's absolutely passionate about helping you have the impact influence that you're called to have by living in an ennobled way. She has been seen and quoted in major media, including CBS, NBC, and Fox. And she is our dynamic and the proud compiler and leader of Ennobling Business for Success. Welcome, Dr. Kasuri. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you.
Yay.
For that warm and welcoming introduction, Rebecca. It is truly an honor to be here with you and my fellow co-authors in this continuing journey of ennobling ourselves and those around us.
I am so thrilled to have you joining us today. Excited to hear from all of our amazing authors. And I wanted to start with you as the leader of this project and bringing it forward. Why? I've shared my translation of the importance and what I heard, but I'd love for you to share in your own words why this book was so important to you and what you were hoping and have seen it do as it's rippled out into the world.
What a beautiful and foundational question, Rebecca. Thank you for that. As COVID started, I was doing international post-merger and acquisition work for Warren Buffett with the Duracell companies. And here I am traveling the world. And whether I'm in my classroom or with my clients internationally, everybody was facing the same thing. Everybody felt like they were a cog in the wheel. Everybody's going through the motions and nobody felt appreciated at the human level. And to me, everything starts with connecting to the being that I am, and then leveraging that being into everything I do. And I encourage others to do that. And as I am surveying the world around me, it occurred to me, research is showing, the recent research is showing that only two things both employers and employees are looking for more than anything else: empathy and resilience. And the empathy is the human component. Resilience is the application of that human component into creating a sustainable ecosystem that's self-healing. And ennobling is the tool to do that. And it occurred to me, what if I brought together a composite of leaders who are also writers? And what if we shared the wisdom from different perspectives? Because perspective taking is so important. I stand here and write a 6, you look at it and say, oh no, Dr. Cass, that's a 9. We can argue all day. The truth is that it's both 6 and 9 all at the same time. But what does that mean? How do we come together? How do we collaborate? How do we work with each other? How do we bring our humanity into everything we do? Our kindness, our compassion. How do we navigate life with grace, no matter what is done to us? Those are the things that's going to make us better and help us build something better than we found. And hence, ennobling business for success with the realization that we need to inspire, we need to ignite the human spirit, and we do need to influence change. And it's through that influence we earn the rite of passage to become leaders.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I'm curious, as the journey went forward, because putting together a project like this, finding those leaders called to align and be part of it, and then the writing and all the details that go into the editing, the formatting, all that process, and then launching and sharing it in the world, it's a process that can take anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half, depending on the flow of everything. So that's a commitment that everyone in this panel has leaned into and has been part of it. And I'm curious, as that happened, what did you observe as you went on the journey with this group of leaders that just warmed your heart? And as it got shared out in the world, was there a special moment that you kind of reflect back on that had that reaffirmed, yes, this is making the difference it's called to make?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Leading a project, whether it's the writing project or at work in change management, the process is the same, right? So I look at leading something very much like riding an elephant. The rider doesn't get to tell the elephant where to go because the elephant is not a horse. Elephant will take you down in a heartbeat and squash you like you were a little tortilla chip, right? So how do I influence my authors to take that journey just like the rider of the elephant has to influence the elephant to go where the elephant needs to go for success to happen? So I was able to bring my skill set, technical and professional, and being the person that I am and the relationships I built, I was able to navigate for two reasons. One, I made the relationship a priority, and I made the human beings who are in this journey a priority. When I embrace them for their being, then it doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become a challenge. It becomes a journey that we have to figure out how to navigate. And you see this water in my background. To me, everything is like water. If we flow like water smoothly, seamlessly, we get to where we need to get to, and we go there without too much trouble. So the goal was to flow. And as we are flowing, light up each of us and those around us, so that just like lighting one candle and using that to light the other candles, each person ennobled the other. And when one ran into a challenge, the others lifted each other up. And there's nothing more powerful than that. And if you notice, the panel is all women. Women know how to do this. Women know how to lean in and ask for help. And women know how to lean in and offer help. And when we come from that place, it automatically works itself out.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I celebrate the coming together, the navigating, the flowing, because over that amount of time, there will be surprises and things that come up and flow. So how beautiful that is to remember to be flexible and to flow and lean into each other as people. And together we can influence. I like that image of the elephant, that the elephant has a mind of its own too. So how do we influence so that we get to where we're trying to go? So I love that vision and that concept. So I know that you're also an author in the book. And so I'd love for you to share your title and what's something you hope the readers of this book discover and learn.
Absolutely. Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks is the title of my chapter. And Goldilocks conjures up for me the image of a young child, gender neutral in this case for conversation purposes. How do you get it just right? You don't want it too hot, you don't want it too cold, you don't want it too hard, you don't want it too soft. That's the same principle in life. How do we find that centeredness to show up in a way that I can balance my individualism and my collectivism? If I'm only focused on me, I can't lead a team to success. If I'm only focused on the team and not accountable for my stuff, then I can't show up for my team. So that balance is important. How do I balance my inner masculinity and femininity? Right? They're both inside of me. So results and outcome is masculinity. In the pursuit of results and outcome, am I bringing in my kindness, my compassion, my ability to nurture and navigate challenges with grace? That is my femininity. And unlike any other time, we are living at an age where every man and woman is expected to bring an equal part of masculinity and femininity, equal part of individualism, collectivism to the table. Because the minute we swing to one or the other of the extreme, there's a reason why people are called extremists, right? It doesn't serve anybody, including ourselves. The message of my chapter and the message ultimately of the book itself is, how do we find that centeredness to remain ennobled? And then what are the other tools do I put in my toolkit so that I continually evolve and thrive? Because I, meaning my mind, my heart, and my actions, my thinking, my feeling, my actions, all come together in my process of ennobling myself. And then I step into passing on that ennobling to others.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And that also ties into your podcast show. It's just if in case anybody's wanting to continue this journey in an additional way and layer, you can look for that same title for your dynamic podcast that you share around the world, which I love. So as we continue, I'd love for you to share, do you have a quick tip to ennoble us or to ennoble businesses or both to support us on our journey? And I hope paper and pen are ready. Just reminding everybody.
Yes. The first thing and the most important thing is to connect with your inner self. The most important relationship you are going to have in life is with your inner being. Connect with that inner being and draw from that inner being. Because if you don't connect and you don't draw from within, you don't have inside of you to give anybody else. So start with you, start from within, and see the value of your being and honor that being.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Cass. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone is taking a moment to just kind of soak that in and see, how is that impacting you? What are you discovering? What are you going to do? What are you going to claim as a result of what you're hearing? Or as you're listening, what is kind of bubbling up within you? What are you hearing in that way as well? Because each of you are part of this conversation. So feel in. We'll take just a moment to give you an opportunity. And as you're doing that, Dr. Cass, can you share your contact information?
Yes. The easiest way to get a hold of me is my website, www.casshenry, KASHENRY.com. And once you go there, my email address, my social media, everything is available. So www.casshenry.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So as everyone has an opportunity, thank you for processing and taking that in. Reach out to Dr. Cass. I promise she enjoys connecting and seeing where that conversation can go and how can she be part of your journey or ennoble you or encourage you on your journey. So I encourage you to reach out. We're going to get to hear from Dr. Cass again towards the end. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our next amazing author. Oh, and wait, I'm getting a quick message. So I want to make sure timely, Dr. Cass, we have one of our viewers has shared that they love the Goldilocks analogy. It's perfect for entrepreneurs. Love it. Explanation point, explanation point, explanation point. So helpful to find balance. So
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, viewer. And I'm glad that was so supportive of you. Beautiful. Well, I'm excited to introduce our next amazing guest. This is also a dear friend of mine. It's so fun to have amazing friends all together in one place. This is Miss Dr. Cheryl Lentz. I'm just thrilled to have you joining us. And she's known as the academic entrepreneur. She's a dynamic speaker, a #1 international bestselling author multiple times over. She's known globally for her writing on leadership and failure, and has been published more than 52 times and with 26 awards. And you may have to give us an update because I know that's always evolving, Dr. Cheryl, as each year moves by and each few months there's more we can add to the mix there. You're an accomplished university professor and consultant, TEDx speaker, and have been quoted on major media such as ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. You are passionate about people embracing failing faster so they can succeed sooner. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the powerful and dynamic Dr. Cheryl Lentz to the show. Welcome.
It's so nice to be here, Rebecca. I always love your introductions. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thrilled to have you joining us. And I like it to be a show because we're all on live interacting. So excited to have each and every one of you here. And Dr. Cheryl, I would love for you to share a little bit about this failing faster concept. I think that can kind of be new to people. I'd love for you to just share a moment what that's about, because I know it's a passion of yours.
It is, and it's something that I've scared the heck out of almost every boss I've ever had and every consultant I've ever done when I suggest that the learning mechanism is really at the heart of learning how to fail. And most people will avoid it at all costs. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake ever, because the idea is learning to embrace failure, not to avoid it. And this is something that we can definitely systematically learn from it. It's often the reason we avoid it is because it's painful. No one likes to fail. But if we can embrace it and make friends with it, we have the opportunity to learn from it. We learned from Einstein or Edison, for example. We did the light bulb, 9,800 ways not to build a light bulb until that one, just that one. And how many of us give up way too soon? If we can just make it part of the process, then learning becomes fun instead of a chore. And my TEDx talk is actually about where I gave up failure, and it took me 30 years to get back into the game. And so I encourage you to be able to look at that so you can do it faster, get through all the unpleasantness, learn how to do it the right way the first time. You'll make your life so much easier and so much more fun than if we learn to, again, accept failure, embrace it, and learn from it.
Beautiful. And I hope that people are writing down. I'm thinking this: choose to fail and learn from it. Don't hold back, don't stop, and choose to keep going forward. I was thinking with Edison there that he could still see the light working, even getting indicator after indicator of it not working. He still chose to see it as reality and bring it forward and didn't give up. So
Absolutely.
I love how this ties in so beautifully to our conversation today. So thank you so much. Now I'd love to know why you said yes to this project. Why did it call to you of all the different opportunities out there? And what is your chapter title?
Let's start with the chapter title first, The Journey of
Okay.
Failure and Self-Discovery, the Heart of a Musician. And I find the ability that when people hear my story, that they get inspired because I'm nothing special, that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And when I share with them the fact of all of the failures in my life, I believe in go big or go home. So I've done many, many big failures in almost every area of my life, and yet I'm still standing. And I think this project speaks to it. It's easy when things go right. It's not easy when they don't. And like Dr. Cassett indicated, how do you show up under pressure when things aren't going right, with grace, with elegance, with poise, with purpose? And that is where character really shows up. And so I think it's a learned skill that we don't teach. Even as a college professor, I teach my kids all the time to be able to learn through some of these things. But these are life skills. These are negotiating skills. They're how do we play nice with the world skills. And I think if we can change our mindset just a little bit, we can have that self-discovery, that self-awareness, and to understand what it can teach us and how much further we can go with it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And and you touched on this a little bit in your chapter, is there anything you want to add that you're hoping people discover as they read your chapter, walk away with something that can ennoble them on their journey, or create a ripple, a movement?
Absolutely. One symbol for me that I have always at the ready near me are my red shoes. And these are the red shoes from Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Because it's just like Glinda the Good Witch, we've always had the tools at our disposal. We just haven't always known how to use them. So the red shoes remind us the answers are within, not without. We have to look inside in that self-discovery to realize I always had the tools to correct many of the failures of my life. It just took me a little longer than some to be able to figure out how. So don't be afraid of failure, and make sure you put those red shoes on.
Beautiful. I love that. I see people clicking on Amazon right now for those red shoes, or however you like to bring those in. But I think that one, I love shoes, so it doesn't take much to encourage or convince me to, I need another pair of shoes. But I also think what a powerful, important reminder that having these physical things in front of us to remind us, because it's so easy to forget, and that we do have the tools all the time. We have that within, and that is empowering and powerful. And we too often look outside instead of within. So thank you so much. I love that. Really great information. And it looks like a quick question. I just got a note. So let me read this to you. Oh, this person would like to know, can you give us a tip to help us move towards accepting our failure?
Now there is the rub in there. Most of this is accepting who we are and what we are, feeling the pain and being able to do it anyway. Most of the time we judge ourselves far too harshly. It's a lesson to be received with joy, not with pain and sorrow. And so if you can accept yourself and look in the mirror and going, yep, I didn't quite get it right. So we dust ourselves off, we get up and we do it again tomorrow with grace and love for yourself. That's the easiest way. So don't be too harsh on yourself. Sometimes I think we're our own worst critics.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. We can treat ourselves far more harshly than we would ever treat another. So reminding ourselves to be kind. Thank you. Great, great tip. I'd love for you to also share your contact information. Pens ready, everybody? So what is the best way for people to connect in with you and go deeper?
My website is also at the ready, drcherylentz.com, very easy. drcherylentz@gmail.com. You can find out all of my social media is all available. Just type me into Google and you'll see all kinds of magic. So come talk to me. I'd love to teach you about what failure gifts can gift for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I love that. We are already having so many great, rich tips and suggestions and ideas. So I hope that you are already enjoying taking in and maybe looking at things a little bit differently than you have. I know I have some good notes going and excited to get another pair of shoes. So that is now on my list. Maybe two, just to make sure, have a backup pair. So I love that. But also that reminder when I see the shoes, not only the reminder that I do have those tools and gifts, that I do have them, but to remember it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, that we can get up again, and to remember to be kind, just like we would to a friend of ours. So giving ourselves that grace and love. So I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Cheryl, for your wisdom, insights. I so appreciate it. And I'm excited. I feel like we have this rich tasting menu because every expert on this panel today, we could have deep, full hour conversations. So we're just touching the tip here. So I encourage you, read their bios, connect with them, go deeper. There's so much, but enjoy the tasting menu today. So with that, I'm excited to introduce our next amazing expert, Dr. Nanandini Menon. And I always love your energy. I love her approach to things, her attitude, and she always shows up in such a powerful, collaborative way. And I just appreciate that and see that. So I'm excited to have you joining us today.
Thank
so
you.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome. And I know I'm getting excited and to introduce her, but I want to make sure you know some professional things about her too. But that's my heart share. And Dr. Menon has taken, when she started this journey, she took a leap of faith and moved to Chicago in the US at an age of 29 after a semi-traditional arranged marriage, and pursued her dream of becoming an eye surgeon. Her resilience, grace, and persistence broke through all the barriers, all of the biases, all of the challenges that she faced to achieve her dream. And she's getting to serve so powerfully in that way today. So I celebrate her persistence. I celebrate her willingness to navigate those waters, bringing waters up again, Dr. Cass, as we flow through and pursue those things that we've been given to bring forward. And she is passionate about helping you enhance the quality of your life. Pleasing in, warmly welcome, and powerful, dynamic, and resilient Dr. Nanandini Menon. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Excited to have you here. And I'd love for you to share, of all the different things that you do and participate in, why did this project call to you? What was on your heart when you leaned in and said yes? And what chapter did you bring forward as a result of that?
Oh, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. You're interviewing so far, and your questions have been so insightful, just like this one. So the reason I leaned into this project was, as a physician, we always have bedside manners when we enter the room with our patients. So we know we're self-aware, we're emotionally present with our patients, and then we leave the room and we forget all of that for ourselves. And I never realized how important that was until the pandemic hit. And I was sitting there with, reading all these news and watching all my friends and my own colleagues going through all this trauma and frustration and fear and hurt. And anger and all these mixed emotions. And I realized this is why we burn out. And then I realized the whole world is burning out, you know, and I just suddenly realized I was in a unique position where I realized that I had something to offer and I had to let people know, because most of us are not self-aware enough. We think we are. 1 in 10 people only are actually self-aware, right? 9 out of the 10 people you meet in a day who think they're self-aware aren't. And so it's important that we realize that we have biases, including the bias of thinking that we know, you know? And so that was the reason why I started this chapter and I leaned in. The title of my chapter, obviously, because I'm an eye surgeon and I love the eyes, is Hindsight 2020, because it happened in the year 2020 as well. And so it's Hindsight 2020. And by doing that, you liberate your subliminal potential. And yes. So.
Oh, I love it. I'm just nodding and I love all the tie-ins with that. So I got excited there as you were sharing that. So I love when there's tie-ins like that and your willingness to lean in. And that's a little bit scary to me that so many of us are walking around not aware, and how important and powerful it is for us to remember to stop, to connect, to be aware, and process that, and to keep it not just in one container, like when we're in that setting, but to bring it forward for ourselves and others. Do you have a tip, a piece of advice around that?
Yes, not to be afraid to ask for help. Yeah. So the reason I'm saying this is because, like I said, a lot of times we think we know, and we always are told to look within ourselves to learn something about ourselves, and we have the answers. But sometimes knowledge doesn't give you the results until somebody nudges you. You know, when you ask a question, they're like, oh, but this is what's going on. And you realize, oh my gosh, I knew that. How come I didn't see it? And so if things aren't going right, don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of times in society, people feel asking for help is a sign of weakness, but sometimes it's a sign of strength.
I love that. What a powerful shift. That asking for help is a sign of strength, that we're willing to receive, we're willing to be open in here. I love that. So powerful. And as you were sharing about how we need sometimes people to come alongside us, it's not a solo journey. And I'm going to bust that myth. I don't know where it got started. We're not meant to do this alone. So I don't know where it started, but I'm going to speak that truth to everyone here. And part of allowing is asking and receiving. I love that. And you're absolutely right. There's things we're not aware of because we're inside. Like if we're inside the picture frame, we can't see what it looks like from a distance. It's important to have that perspective. So ask for help. I love it. I love it. So do you mind sharing just a little bit of what, in addition to what you've shared, because you've already given us such great goodies, anything that they can look forward to learning in your chapter? And if there's a tip that you want to share with us today?
Sure. So in my chapter, a lot of it is about effective communication, because for me, I am a transplant from a different culture, different country, different generation. And I was working in a different culture, different country. And so the things that worked for me where I lived before and what I was brought up with, the way I communicated didn't work when I came to the US and I started working here. And not realizing that got me into a lot of turmoil. So so when you read the chapter, it's basically about understanding our own cultural biases and the biases of the people that we interact with. You know, generational, cultural, racial, all these things affect us. And if we know our biases and we know the people we're working with have biases, then we're able to create a cohesive team that works and a better business that's ennobled and influenced and ignited for success. My tip is to say that your strengths are what make you who you are today. but it is your biases that is holding you back from your subliminal potential of tomorrow.
Beautiful. I was getting a moment for that to sink in. Do you mind sharing it one more time? That was so powerful.
Oh, okay. So your strengths are what get you here to where you are today. But it's your biases that are holding you back from your subliminal potential of tomorrow.
So good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to underline it, and that was the best way I knew how, is to have you to share again. So thank you so much. Really powerful information, great insight. And we have a question that just popped through. So perfect timing. Let me just open it up here. So it's a comment, not a question. So it was clarified. So the comment is, I read your chapter and it gave me a different perspective on physicians. And I truly never thought of the added stress they have on their shoulders in creating and managing a business. Thank you for this. Walking a mile in someone else's shoes, expressed to perfection.
Oh, thank you. That's so wonderful. This was the reason I wrote the chapter, because there's so much that we don't know, and there's so much miscommunication and mistrust now with healthcare, that I feel as physicians and as healthcare personnel, we need to be more open, and more vulnerable and more aware of ourselves, so that our patients and the rest of the population, whom we're trying so hard to help, can see that we're human again.
And really they're sincerely trying to help, right?
Yes.
I just, so beautiful. So thank you, viewer, for your beautiful comment and share. And Dr. Menon, thank you for your share. And I'd love for you to share your contact information. So those who are leaning in, want to go deeper, I want to make sure I let them know the best way to do that.
The best way is actually my email address, which is my last name, Menon, MENON, N for my first initial, 13 @gmail.com. I'm also available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, but emails probably
your preferred. Fair enough.
Probably the most one that I check.
Okay. Can I have you share it one more time, just so if anyone was writing it?
Sure. Menon, MENON, 13 @gmail.com.
Beautiful. Thank
the
you.
lucky
So
number
much.
13.
I love that. So that'll help people remember. I love it. Well, I love the number 3. So anything with 3 in it, I'm happy. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
That. Thank you for joining us today. Well, viewers, I want to give you a moment to just take this in. We've had some great interviews, some great insights, and sometimes it's good to move around a little bit and kind of let that integrate. So we're going to take just a few minutes. So 3 minutes. I don't want you running off. 3 minutes for you to just move. You can stretch a little bit, take some deep breaths, write some of your thoughts down, and then we will continue our conversation. So enjoy these 3 minutes. Okay, 30 seconds. We're going to be coming back.
Great job, everybody, so far.
Great. Okay. Here we go, viewers. I hope that you enjoyed those 3 minutes and the opportunity to process, move around a little bit, because we have an exciting second half, and I want to make sure you are fully present, fully ready to receive everything that is here for you. And as you can see, we love the comments, we love the questions, so feel free to keep sharing those out. And an extra credit bonus opportunity, one way, one action you could take to help support making an ennobled and powerful difference in your life and others is to watch the replay, let it soak in again, and then share it out with one of your tips, one of your insights, something that touched you as you took it in. And you could even extra credit bonus. You can even write down an action you're going to take or claim and let us support you. Tag us, let us support you in claiming that and rippling it out. We are really leaning in to be part of your community, to support you, to empower you, to encourage you, and ennoble you on your journey. So again, reminding, underlining, you are not alone. You are valuable, you are needed. And we are standing here to remind you of that and to ennoble and empower you on your journey. So keep writing, keep seeing if some of those things resonate with you. Keep making your list of the things you're choosing. And notice as you're choosing some of those things, what is no longer something that serves? Maybe it's something that you have been giving focus and attention to and nourishing unintentionally. Perhaps you're going to focus on that a little bit less and choose to focus on something that does bring forward those things that matter to you. Maybe it's releasing that and deciding what you're going to claim. Maybe it's paying attention to, am I getting outside support and outside perspective? Am I pursuing to find what is just right? Am I willing to take that risk of failing so I can learn the best way to make that light bulb and bring it forward? Am I willing to do those things? Because those are things that will help ennoble you and make a difference. So look at some of those things. And one of the things for me that made a big difference was reminding myself I'm choosing. It's not happening to me, and I don't have to react, and everything else of the day is not in charge of me. I get to stop and choose how I navigate forward, how I'm going to be no matter what comes. And then learning, not only do I have that choice, but I can also choose what I allow in. What am I choosing to watch, listen to, hear, and nourish and take in that is not mine to take in and nourish? So learning some of that really helped me navigate in powerful ways. So be listening to those things that are going to serve you and empower you on your journey. So you guys ready for more? I'm ready. I'm hoping I'm seeing some nods, smiles. I'm visualizing this, excited nod as we lean into the second half of our powerful summit. Again, just thrilled and honored to have all of you joining us today. So I'm excited to introduce our next amazing guest, our beautiful Lois. And I know you're going to love her energy. You're going to love all of her knowledge and expertise, because that was something else Dr. Manon was sharing, that's important as well, that knowledge and taking information in, and how willing she is to come alongside you to collaborate and support you. So I know you're going to enjoy meeting her. So Dr. Lois Sonstegard has a PhD in public health, healthcare management, an MBA, an MSN in finance, just so much rich. And I'm just touching on a few of the things that she's bringing to the table. A parent-child healthcare certificate, an NLP master coach. And again, this is just a few of the degrees and certifications that she has integrated into her life and really brought into the work that she's bringing the world. She has experience in healthcare, manufacturing, global distribution, product innovation, and product launch. She leads revolutionary, so not just a mastermind, but revolutionary masterminds to make dynamic change, and is passionate about helping you collaborate and increase profitability. Please lean in and warmly welcome the powerful Dr. Lois to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. What an honor to be here with all of you in this group and the audience. Dr. Cass, thank you for bringing this group together. There's been so much with this that's been really meaningful, I think, to me and to probably each one of us. So I appreciate it.
I'm so glad. Isn't that so amazing when we get to be part of something, even though we are getting to share and impact people, that we also get impacted and we get to take in information. That's so much of what collaboration is, that we get to keep learning and growing as we're sharing and shining. And I feel like so much of that has happened today. I appreciate you sharing that. And we are just thrilled and honored to have you joining us today. And I love that bookshelf behind you, because I was thinking, to me, it's kind of representing all the degrees, all the certifications, all this amazing knowledge that you have and integrate into your work. So that just made me smile as I was seeing and appreciating that today was representing that to me. So I'd love for you to share why this work, why this project mattered so much to you, because you have many choices out there and this was something that called to you. And what did you decide to write about in your chapter?
You know, we've touched, excuse me, we've touched on it a bit already. And I think one of the things that I observed as we were going through COVID was people were anxious. There was a depression. There was a concern about what's going to come next. And then we came out of COVID and we knew there was going to be an economic downturn. And so people were concerned again. And so we saw decisions being made within organizations that were a part of that. And what I saw during that time was a desperateness amongst people for connectedness. People are hungry for relationships, hungry to be connected, hungry for touch, hungry for being a part of something. You know, they've been at home, they've been isolated, they've been trying to solve things by themselves. And now was an opportunity to come back and get reconnected. So what I liked about this was it's an opportunity to talk about, what do you do about that? How can we do things differently, right? We don't have to get stuck in that. And I think it is easy to get stuck. I mean, Forrester just came out with their 2023 predictions. And in it, they said that uncertainty is now certain. Well, think about that. We thought we were coming through it, right? But nope. It's only going to become more so. Well, what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what the strength of this is. That's, you know, part of what Dr. Cheryl was talking about. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to come out of this. Dr. Cass talked about you got to be resilient, right? And then it's how do you take care of yourself, which is what Dr. Manan talked about. And for me, my focus turned to collaboration. How can we do and build things in a better and different way? And part of where I come to with that comes out of observing like Japan, post-war Japan. How did they come out of that? Their country, this community that I grew up in Japan, was 85% destroyed in 3 days. How do you come back, right? How do you build so you become the dominant auto industry for many, many years? The Honda, Toyota, right? And the electronics, Sony, and the list goes on. Well, you do it because you collaborate.
Beautiful. I'm letting that just ripple out. That was so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Do you mind sharing the title of your chapter? I know it jumped right into the content, but I want to make sure if anyone's flipping through the book or is wanting to make sure they look for that, that they know your chapter title.
Businesses that collaborate will thrive in the future.
So perfect. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I just so appreciate it. And I was realizing as I'm encouraging people to know the chapter titles, we haven't let you know where to purchase the book. So Lois, I'm going to take one moment because that's on me. I want to make sure anyone who's leaning in, that's great, Rebecca, where do I get the book? You can go to Amazon.com and you can look it up by Dr. Kessary Henry. You can also look it up by Ennobling Business for Success. It's in multiple formats, and you'll see all these beautiful chapters that are richly woven throughout the book. And there's many more. This is a sampler. Remember, just a sampling of some of the richness that you'll find in there. But you can find it on Amazon.com for anyone that is wondering where they can get their copy today. So I want to make sure I let everybody know, and we'll remind you at the end, but that's where you can get it when you're going on to get your red shoes. You can also at the same time get your copy of the book in your favorite format. So with that, Lois, I'm coming back, and I'd love for you to share about this collaboration and thriving. Do you have a tip that you can give us, either personally, professionally, or both, to help us as we start to shift how we're approaching things? What does collaborating really mean, and how can we start to do that more?
So I think where we often make our mistakes is we do things within our own group. So like with you, Dr. Manan, what you were talking about, doctors tend to come together and they try to solve their problems by themselves. Nurses do that. Hospital administration does that. The C-suite people do that in business. And then it trickles down from that. And the problem is that then the entirety doesn't come together to really solve complex problems. So you have people each going off and going, but I don't feel any better, right? Because I had an idea, I had a solution, but what do you do with it? And so if you don't mind my giving a picture kind of an answer, because I think it's the easiest way for people to remember why this is so important. If you think back to Churchill, when just before the Battle of Dunkirk, he was faced with a parliament that was in absolute disarray over his decision-making. And there was a strong element that felt that they should be negotiating a peace treaty with Mussolini and Hitler. Perhaps that would keep things from the war from coming to London and the UK. And Churchill felt very strongly that you were not going to derail Hitler in any way. But the forces were against him, and people were on their way to make their own negotiations and undermining his efforts. And he was feeling despair. What do you do in that situation? And he was at home late at night, and 10 o'clock, actually, about that time. And his wife came into the bedroom and said, Churchill, you've got to get up. Or Winston, I guess she called him. And he said, why? And she said, the king is here to see you. He said, what? In my house? And so he got up, and the king was being pressured to move to Canada because they were afraid that the monarchy was in danger. So he was trying to make his own decisions. What does he do? And he began to talk with Winston, and finally Winston says, but I don't have the answers. I don't even have anybody to talk with. And at that moment, the king sat down on his bed and said, but you have me. Winston says, but you don't like me. And he didn't. And he said, well, we'll start again. And so he says, what do I do? And the king's response was, you are very good with people. Go ask the people. So that was the famous scene. If you remember ever having watched the movie Dunkirk, he's in his limo the next morning on his way to Parliament. The light is red, and he, in a moment, he jumps out just before the light turns because he sees the tube station is right there, hops down into the tube, and is trying to figure out how you get the right train to get to Parliament. And he's asking people, and of course they know who he is. He gets on the train and he says, what should I do? He said, I am being advised to surrender and make a treaty. And to a person, the people on the train said, we will fight to the finish, even if it's here on the street in London. And then he returned to Parliament and made that famous speech of, we will not negotiate, we will fight. And that changed the trajectory of the war. But here's the point. The intelligent, the experts in Parliament didn't have the pulse of the country. They couldn't make a good decision for the country. And that's the problem we have in our organizations right now. We have people making decisions in isolation, and they're complex problems, and they can't be solved that way. So we have to have a collaborative method or process to bring people from different depths, vertically, horizontally together, to really come out with meaningful solutions. So that's my tip. Go broad, go deep.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And really get that pulse, get that information, know where all of that comes. I got goosebumps as you shared that. Just so powerful. So thank you for sharing that story, that picture with us, so that we can really take in that concept. I really appreciate it. Very powerful. And I have a question or a comment. I need to see which, because I didn't want to look away. I was taking it in. Comment. Collaboration is essential in business. I was in sales for many years, and collaboration was key to my success. When people would ask why, I would always say, I share my pie because I can't eat a whole pie by myself. I feel so validated now. Thank you. With multiple explanation points. I'm not quite sure how many, but multiple that were listed there. So thank you for sharing. And I'd love for you to also share your contact information. So anyone who wants to connect, go deeper, talk about collaboration, and I want to say this right. Oh, it's hiding from me. But your management groups that are revolutionary. So you're revolutionary masterminds. I really got excited when I saw that. So we're talking revolution, change that you're bringing forward and supporting people in. So anyone who's interested in learning more about that, connecting with you further, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is to go to our website, there's two websites, but this will be the one you'll remember probably most easily, www.startwithcollaboration.com.
Perfect. I love that. Startwithcollaboration.com. Beautiful. Anything else on your heart that you wanted to share?
Well, I think when you collaborate, whether it's within your own organization, there's so much research on why it's so important to do it in terms of what happens to profitability, productivity, creativity, innovation, and the list goes on. But what also happens across companies when they do that? And so it is back to, can't remember if it was what Cheryl said, it's letting go and accepting that you don't have to have all the answers, right? Collaboration means you don't have to be the only one with an opinion or answer, because it's the collective. And when you do, opportunities come forward that you never, ever saw before.
Beautiful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope people are taking great notes. Again, replay will be available. So if you missed out or you got pulled away for a moment or want to repeat something, you absolutely will have that opportunity. But I invite all of you to stay present and really engage and take in all that serves. There's something magical about that live energy being shared out in the world. So thank you, Lois, so much, Dr. Lois, for all of your shares, wisdom, and insight. I just deeply appreciate it. And I'm excited to introduce our next amazing guest, Dr. Cecilia. I love you, and we've had opportunity to play together in different ways, different projects. I have always felt like you have been there as such a collaborator. Global perspective, which I value and appreciate. And I know that all of our viewers today are going to enjoy your personality, your perspective, and the warmth that you bring it forward in and the richness of it. So I'm excited to have you here. And I'm going to share a little bit about you so they know a little bit more than just my heart share. And for all of these experts, I'm just sharing a tip. I keep sharing that, but they're just such amazing people. There's so much that you can learn, and even their bios, I'm just giving you a taste. So I really encourage you, lean in, get to know them more. You can see they're warm, open, really leaning into you. And so know that you can lean back and connect in with them too on your journey. So Cecilia, Dr. Cecilia, is a healthcare professional whose passion for health and well-being stems back from her own personal journey. So from her own walk, her own journey, and then what she saw and experienced in her life with her family and friends. So this work is deeply personal, so core to who she is. Early in her years as a clinician, all the way to working now with in a I want to say this correctly, a pharmaceutical physician executive in research and development. So she has this range of background and experience. She has a medical degree, MBBS. And to listen to this, I'm going to share a little bit differently than I've shared on some of these because I want you to hear the different countries. So MBBS, so medical degrees in MBBS from India, master's degree in pharmaceutical medicine from Ireland, and public health from Australia. I just love that diversity of perspective and countries that you're bringing to the table as well. I think that's really powerful. And you're absolutely passionate about ennobling all of us for success. I just warmly welcome you to the stage, Dr. Cecilia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and very humbled actually to have the opportunity to share something that I'm so passionate about with a broader community. So truly appreciate the work that you're doing, Rebecca, and Cass as well.
Thank you. Well, we are thrilled to have you. So I hope you can feel that and know that. And I'm excited to have you share a little bit of why this particular project called to you with all the choices, all the options. I think it's interesting to see what part of the project had you leaning in and saying yes, and what do you hope the chapter you created will do for people as they dive in, read, and let it support them?
Yeah. So this is a challenge that I'm throwing out to your entire audience. When I was very young, my whole life revolved around wanting to help. And the pathway I chose was medicine. But as I grew into my career as a clinician, what occurred to me was people are coming when they're sick, when they're already in an advanced stage of disease. And I'm like, well, why is that happening? And as I progressed more and more, I realized, well, my focus started to move towards health promotion. We're living longer, and I want people to be able to not just live longer, but live longer, healthier, well lives. And that's critical. And that sort of change has to come early. You can't wait for disease to occur and suddenly sit up and say, whoops, now I got to look after myself. It has to start when you're young. And I was very gifted. I was born into a beautiful family. I had lovely parents who actually incorporated a lot of these principles of living healthily into my life. Having said that, what I grew up in as a junior doctor, what was healthy was physical and mental. And you've heard the entire panel here talk about, well, we needed emotional strength. We needed spiritual strength and grounding, and that creates wholeness. So now for me, I know better, I do better. And I think that's so critical. Life has evolved so much. So as a physician, as somebody who wants to help and heal, it has to encompass everything: emotional, spiritual, mental, physical. And my challenge then to your audience is, well, it's in your hands. What are you doing today to make sure that you live your most beautiful and healthy and well life, as opposed to what many of us are doing now? We wait till our body breaks down, and then we go and see a doctor and say, oh, can you help me? Can I get a medicine? And I'm like, well, let's change the paradigm. Let's not wait for that to happen. Plug into your life things that today you can do. Then it's not hard. You just need to make an effort, choose something, incorporate it into your life so it becomes normalized. And then you'll find that your life is stronger, well, you can accomplish more. And particularly for this book, it's, I've been in corporate life for 17 years. And so for me, it's a lived experience that I've known what it was like to have challenges and work. And I know what it is that makes me strong and grounded and able to meet all those challenges with a steadfastness and a serenity and just a feeling of goodness to be able to contribute the best that you can in your work and in your life.
I love that. And I think sometimes we can compartmentalize, or we think it's just this is the, and this reminder that it's all, and to not wait till there's something wrong to start addressing some of these things. Like, we can be proactive. So I hope everyone heard that challenge that we can be proactive. We have a list already going of some things we're choosing to do. So this would be a great thing to start adding to that list and kind of checking in. So I love that. I love that you're giving us a challenge, an opportunity to do that. Do you mind sharing the title of your chapter?
Yes, it's health and wellness for business success. But really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's health and wellness for your entire life success.
Oh, I love that. I feel like it's even more. Beautiful, beautiful. And it looks like I have a comment here. Nope, this one's a question. So a question. Such a global perspective, exclamation point. So they're appreciating that. Oh, that's interesting. So what country do you think we should look to and emulate in terms of their outlook on health and wellness, and kind of looking at that whole picture? Is there a country that you would suggest that we look at, we learn from, or do you feel like it's from multiple countries? We'd love your perspective.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that you asked it. Thank you. So I think every country has good, and we need to find that good and assimilate it. But there are examples in the world. So in my book, I make reference to it. It's called the Blue Zones. And you look at countries like Mediterranean countries like Spain and Italy, you look at Japan, there's certain areas, certain countries which have, and I'm being general, because you know, in any country you can get unhealthy people and healthy people, but there's a level of generalization in these countries by virtue of the way they live. Again, it's incorporated into their lifestyles. So more vegetables, more fish, a small amount of red meat, no smoking, a minimal amount of alcohol, and just incorporating exercise and mobility into your day-to-day life. And then it's the community, it's the people, having those relationships. Lewis just talked about it, collaborating, having your tribe around you that lifts you and supports you. And of course, that spiritual part. So it's many different facets, and the countries that have got it right have the majority of their population lifted and well and healthy and aging in a really good way. So look up the Blue Zones. There's actually some really interesting information there. And I talk a little bit more about my book chapter as well. So I'm happy to expand on it at your own time, and if you reach out to me.
Beautiful. Thank you. And speaking of which, what's the best way for them to reach out? Perfect segue.
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn, and Cecilia Kulising, it's quite a unique name. So if you just put it into LinkedIn, my profile will come up, and just invite me to friend or, you know, partner with you and send me a question, and more than happy to take it from there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I deeply appreciate it. Thrilled to have you joining us today. And all of our viewers, I hope you're taking great notes. Some good actions that you can take on the list. Now we can add Blue Zones research, looking into that to the list as well, and really thinking about all mind, body, soul, and spirit, like all of it tied together, not separated in these little compartments, and waiting till there's a problem to start maybe balancing some things there. So I love that. Let's look at these things and be proactive about it, and learn from each other as well. That's something else I hear with what you're saying, and looking at the different countries, looking at some of these things so that we can bring those best practices into our lives, body, soul, and spirit, and how we're doing things. So brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And all of our viewers, we have more. So I'm giving you a moment to take some of that in, kind of see what things are popping up for you, what you're discovering, what you're learning. And I want to take a moment to glance down at the notes that you've been taking, and just kind of look, kind of think back to when we started our conversation, and what was laid on your heart that's supportive of you, that you're looking for, that can empower you on your journey. And look at your list. And we had one that's I'm choosing to, and then extra credit was adding an action to that as well. I choose to claim an action. I would encourage you to claim some truths for you. We've mentioned one of the activities you could do is sharing the video out. We don't need to keep this a secret. If you found this supportive, we'd love your help in rippling that out into the world to impact as many hearts and lives as possible. And with that, I encourage you to tag us so we can echo out what you're saying. When you share it out, say what touched you, say what you're claiming. Let us stand with you on that as you share it out. That's part of how we can have a powerful global conversation and keep that momentum going. But I also mentioned we would have an extra credit bonus special activity with the list for those of you who have been doing them. So I wanted to take a moment as we're getting ready for our next speaker to walk you through the extra credit bonus activity that you can do. I like extra credit bonus credit. Gold stars. I like those things I've already shared about the red shoes. If anyone's gift shopping, I like gold stars. I like red shoes. Now you know, secret's out. And I like extra credit. So when we have that sheet of paper, and I noticed I had asked you to put on what you're choosing and then what you're releasing. A really powerful activity is to actually take that piece of paper and separate the two halves. Physically separate and release what you're wanting to release. You can have a ceremony with it. You can release it in different ways. You can crumple it up, but separate it. Claim, take the action, really own what you're claiming and releasing what you're releasing. You put it in a container, it's complete. It doesn't get to sneak back in. It doesn't get to stay attached to your actions to-do list. You're not nourishing that anymore. It doesn't get more energy. It's complete. I crumpled mine up because it's complete. I'm going to lovingly place it in another place, but it doesn't get to be part of what I'm bringing forward. I appreciate what it's taught me, and I'm ready to release it. So take that action, physically release that, and choose what you're going to step forward, what you're claiming. And there will be more. So you might get to expand your list as we continue our conversation. But remember, you get to make choices in this. And I really, really want you to nourish, spend energy, time on those things that are going to ennoble you, those things that are going to support you, those things that are going to help you get to where you want to be. And I was thinking some of what Dr. Lois was saying, and what is that change? That where do we stand? Where is that line? What are we going to keep choosing to bring forward? Where is that for us? Let's do that. Let's not go into contraction or withdrawal, or we failed at something. Okay, what did we learn from that? And guess what? We're stronger than we knew because we're here today and we can stand again. Like there's so much we have that we can keep claiming, keep choosing to do. So find those things as we go through our time together today, and take time to not just this was great and exciting in the moment, but build it into your life. When you notice you're thinking and spending energy nourishing that worry or whatever it is, oh, no, that was on the crumpled list. I guess I need to put it on the list again and remove it. And now shift back to what you want to nourish and grow instead. It starts with us. And I know that's what Dr. Cass was saying earlier, like it starts with us. So keep taking these things in, let them soak in at deeper levels. These foundational core things matter and make a difference in how we can start to bring this into our life, into our families, into our work, into our communities, into our state, our country, and the world. But it starts with us and ripples out. So listen, take this in, learn from all these amazing experts, and add to the conversation. Let's keep it going. Together, we can really make a huge difference, heart by heart, life by life. So with that, papers separated, no longer touchy. The lists are separated. We have claimed that. We are ready for more. So I'm excited to move to our next amazing expert. I know you're going to love her. I love Karen. We've had opportunities to play together in different ways, and I always love her energy, her creativity, all the different things that she brings to the table. And Karen, you always are positive and passionate and have so much that you bring forward in how you think about things, how you put together in the diverse ways that you touch the world. So I appreciate that about you. And I'm excited to formally introduce you. So Karen Ann Bullock is a I have to say the word correctly. That was a test.
Just
So
transcended.
I failed, Dr. Cheryl. I am now learning to slow down and pronounce. So can you help me out? I'm asking for help. I'm going to embody that too. So Karen, help me out.
Transcendent leadership specialist.
Perfect. Transcendent leadership specialist. And I can learn. So beautiful. Thank you. Sometimes my mouth isn't forming the words correctly. So I appreciate that. And you are a #1 international best-selling author, founder of Transcendence, living a life of meaning, executive coaching practice. This is a boutique executive coaching practice for leaders. She was the first woman promoted to executive VP at AM Best Company and has served on their board of directors. Her career is marked by rapid promotion. So she's been able to negotiate and navigate powerfully within different roles within her organization and have a really, really big impact on that journey. She's a master's of science in organizational leadership and is passionate about having and helping you live a life of deep and powerful meaning. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the powerful and dynamic and transcendent Karen Ann Bullock to the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I really appreciate that. I'm so honored to be here because I feel this is just such an amazing group of people, and what you and Dr. Cass have put together is just, I mean, I knew it was all inspiring before, but just to sit and listen to everybody today, it's been wow. This is really an incredible group of people. So I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Oh, we are so excited to have you be part of it. And you're part of what's making it wonderful and fabulous too. So thank you for leaning in and being part of this project, as well as part of today as we have this opportunity to lean in. And I'd love for you to share why. I know you have multiple projects that you're writing or in the works that you're creating, like multiple, and yet this one called to you to add to your plate. You said yes, you leaned in. So do you mind sharing a little bit of why you said yes and what you hope your chapter is bringing forward?
Well, the idea of ennobling business is so aligned with my work in the world and what I'm passionate about. And I'm passionate about all kinds of leadership, but I'm particularly passionate about women leaders and women leaders getting their needs met, because over the course of especially during the pandemic but even leading up to it, there's so many women that have been burnt out and tired and exhausted and just worked to death in corporations trying to balance all of the things in their lives and put everything together. And I see so many women leaving corporate work, and I'm happy for them because a lot of them are pursuing their passions like I am. Okay. But I also feel a great sense of grief about it because it's such a loss for organizations that need them so badly. And I wanted to take a look at that. And I felt like the ennobling business and, my passion for trying to help change corporate cultures around women and how they are presenting themselves, as well as how they are navigating corporate cultures, just fit together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. So what is your chapter title?
It is called Transcendent Culture, the Key to Recruiting and Retaining Women Leaders.
Beautiful. I love that. And how important that is for companies and organizations to be able to recruit, retain, and help delve into the richness that can be missed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel like we're losing with so many women. I mean, during the pandemic, it was, over 2 million women left the workplace.
Yep.
I mean, the numbers were staggering. And there were a lot of men that left too, but the overwhelming majority were women that left. And, studies showed that they were the ones that were really feeling the brunt of the pandemic more because they were balancing, families, as well as trying to care for their coworkers and their staff and their teams from an emotional standpoint more than many men were. And probably not for want of trying, but the men typically probably weren't as equipped to do it, right? We're naturally, as women, socialized to be more empathetic and more caring about people's feelings. And men are taught to be all rough and tumble, right? And taught, they have to be tough. And honestly, my years in corporation, a lot of them that's how I felt like I had to behave as a leader, right? Because that was what was expected when you were in leadership. And, we've learned that that's not as effective as we used to think it was. Let's put it that way.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. And can I ask you another question, just because I know some of the projects you're working on, and I feel like this ties into it. So can I ask a question in
You
that
may.
space? Okay, thank you. Ask your permission. But you have a beautiful series that you are working on and are going to be bringing forward that I feel like is a creative powerful way that you're leaning in to support this conversation. So do you mind just sharing? I think it'll spark some interest and ideas. Just share a little bit of that.
Yeah, I am working on a series of fiction. It's fiction called the Ascending Ladder series. And the first 2 books are going to be released this year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And they are really about a female executive in a corporate environment. And her experiences draw from some of my experiences and experiences from people I know. And she is trying to make changes in her organization to bring more humanity into the organization and dealing with a lot of the issues that happen in organizations today, right? Layoffs. I mean, there's a big thing about layoffs in the first book, and that's obviously very appropriate for right now. And how to deal with that in a different way than we normally talk about dealing with layoffs. So you're right. It aligns very closely with my chapter, and it aligns very closely with everything that I'm doing. And I just love to bring it forward in a creative way because I think it makes it more fun, and people can put themselves in her shoes a little bit better than they can just by reading something that's nonfiction.
I love it. I love it. So that's something we definitely can be following Karen and watching for and enjoying that is coming forward. And just as you reflect back on all of that, the fiction series that you're bringing forward, your chapter that you're bringing forward, are there some tips to ennoble us, to support us that you would like to share with us today? We'd love to hear.
Well, I think one of the tips in my chapter and one of the things that I'm passionate about is being a leader versus doing leadership, right? We always measure ourselves by what we do, right? We always say, did I accomplish that? Did I accomplish this? And, as Dr. Cheryl talked about, we often fail on our own. The collaboration that Dr. Lois talked about is so important, but it's who we are and how we show up. And really that's at the heart of what Dr. Cass is all about with this project. And being a leader means, to me, knowing who you are, being really clear on your values, your purpose, your contribution to the world, and being connected to not only yourself, but to others and to what I call, the transcendence is, that higher level of consciousness. And when you are in that place, you show up differently, and you can show up, to your point, in a positive way, in a way that lifts other people up, and in a way that allows for collaboration. And who you are as a leader is so much more important than what you do. And that, I think, is really the big message that I have for people.
I love that. So can I ask one more piece around
Sure.
that? So
Sure.
this can be like a new concept, doing, being, and separating. Do you have a tip if we're like, whoa, I don't know I don't know how to do that? Do you have a tip of a place to start?
Well, one of the places that I start with my clients and the people I work with is starting with listening to that judge in your voice, and I think in your head, which I think Dr. Shaw mentioned too, right? We get that judgment voice in our heads that tell us, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do the other thing. And learning how to turn down that inner critic and get rid of that voice so that you can really hear your own inner voice is really the first step in doing that.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know for myself, sometimes I'll journal because it helps get it out of swirling inside of me, and it connects my heart and hand. Like I can write it, and then I can look at it, interact with it differently than just having it swirling around in an unorganized fashion in my mind. It can go be unorganized on the page, but then I can filter it and look at it differently. So I know that's something that helps me do some of that. So I love that, starting to untangle that and bring some awareness is brilliant. So I have a question for you, Karen.
Okay.
Do you have any tips in discovering if a company's culture fits with our own values and beliefs, specifically when interviewing?
That is a super question. And obviously the most obvious thing is to look at what the company says their values are, right? But we all know that those, what they say their values are and what happens really doesn't happen. And I think the important thing is to ask questions and to try to talk to people in the organization beyond maybe who you're just interviewing with. If you can do that, really get an understanding of that. And then ask blatant questions. How does, like, if they say their value is integrity, for instance, ask the question, how does that value show up in your processes, your policies, and the way you operate in the company? And ask the question flat out.
Beautiful. Always respectfully and professionally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not trying to you're not trying to be mean about it, but really, ask that. I love that. I love that integrity is one of your values. I'd love to know how you incorporate that in your policies, your workflows, and how that shows up throughout the organization.
Beautiful. I love it. I just didn't want someone saying, "So you say."
Of course not.
So thank you. I appreciate that, walking us through that. Brilliant. And for anyone that wants to connect with you and go deeper, what's the best way?
Probably the best way is my LinkedIn profile. It's just Karen Ann Bullock. And the Bullock is with 2 U's, so it's spelled a little bit differently. So pay attention to that. It's not OCK like many people spell it. It's ULLUCK. And you can get to me from LinkedIn. All my contact information is there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it. And I'm excited now. Our next guest, she has been holding space for us this whole series. And so I just so appreciate that, Robin, that you've been holding space for us, and that we get to bring this all together in our conversation and interview segment with you. So I just, I've been smiling and enjoying that as I see you holding the space for all of us and participating. It's beautiful. So I'm excited, and I appreciate your bookcase as well. I didn't want to leave your bookcase out, so no bookcases get jealous in the conversation. So I've been appreciating that as well. And I'm excited to introduce you. So Robin is a resilience and well-being advisor that is passionate about teaching and inspiring organizations to become more humane, ethical, and resilient. She is a fraud prevention expert. So I want people leaning into that. We want people preventing fraud. So she is a fraud prevention expert and works with Safe Checks. And she's the primary editor of the Frank Abagnale. Can you help me pronounce that word, Frank?
Abagnale. Frank Abagnale.
Thank you.
If you've seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, then
Yes.
that's Frank Abagnale.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for making that connection for me. I didn't make that connection. And it's the fraud prevention bulletin that is used by the FBI, Federal Reserve, and organizations throughout the country, that you're the primary editor of that, as well as a #1 international best-selling author. And you are passionate about helping people build their resilience and really bring that truth forward in an ethical and humane and resilient way. So I love that about you, and I'm excited to have you joining us. Welcome. Let's welcome Robin Lister Johnson to the stage.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your warm welcome. And I just want to quickly give a big shout out to the other authors, just amazing people. You've already heard from the people before me, but just truly amazing people. And also a really big shout out to Dr. Cass, who spearheaded all of this. And she has a wonderful Zoom cast every Saturday morning. It's at 7:00 a.m. Pacific time. So every Saturday morning at 7 a.m., I'm up listening to Dr. Cass. And it is absolutely worth getting up early and listening to every single week. even if, oh, do I want to get on? Every single week, you're uplifted and inspired and instructed. So a big shout out to Dr. Cass's Zoomcast.
Oh, Zoom, I thank you for sharing that. Dr. Cass, I didn't even know about this. I'm so excited. Now I have a new activity I can participate in on Saturday morning. So Robin, thank you. That can go on my action I can take list. So that is brilliant. I love it. And if I can jump over to Dr. Cass really fast, what's the best way for us to be a part of that, find out about that?
Absolutely. If folks connect with me on LinkedIn, I post. It's the same Zoom link every week. It's the Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks Zoomcast, and we have it as a multilateral international conversation so that we can truly address collaboratively how to make this a better world, 1 week at a time, a group of folks with one guest at a time.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. I knew about the podcast, but I didn't know all of how it came together. So that is just brilliant.
Robin is my Batman and Robin. Robin and I are Batman and Robin. We flip roles. And if I can't make the show, she is my step-in host. So we have been collaborating, and this has been a beautiful experience for us.
Oh, I love to know that. It's perfect. You guys are bookends too in our conversation today. Like it's just, it all aligns. I love it. Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing, Dr. Cass. And Robin, thank you for adding that to our conversation as well. And I wanted to lean into why this project called to you, why you said yes, and what you decided to write your chapter about.
Well, my chapter is called Elevating the Human Side of Enterprise. And I'm absolutely passionate about, as I phrase it, helping organizations create workplaces where people want to stay instead of wanting to leave, and making workplaces that are humane, ethical, and resilient. And the point is that as adults, we spend most of our lives at work. And so why not have workplaces that are humane, ethical, and resilient? Workplaces that respect the human soul, that respect human contribution. And so I'm just really passionate about helping organizations be better.
I love it. I'm already seeing collaborations happening before our eyes in the conversations that have happened around this. So I love that. And what did you title your chapter?
It's called Elevating the Human Side of Enterprise. And the very first section of the chapter is a scene from A Christmas Carol, where is my absolute favorite version of A Christmas Carol, where George C. Scott is playing the role of Scrooge. And Marley is confronting him, and Scrooge says, well, you always were a good man of business. And Marley just roars back, business, business, mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, forbearance was my business. And it's really a powerful scene that the human element of business has to be addressed, or business will not be successful. In fact, every single strategy, every single technique, in fact, every single invention is done by human beings. And ultimately, everything is going to be implemented by human beings. And unless you address the human side of business, you will be either unsuccessful or you will be less successful than you would have been. And the chapter enumerates multiple examples, dollars and cents examples, where the human side came into play.
So powerful. I was getting those chills again. I was right there in the scene. And that is such a powerful moment. We can lose sight of what our real mission is, what our business really is. And I love that you're taking a stand for that and really helping us remember and make that connection and stand for that. And those are important things, both in the organizations we're choosing to do business with, and where we're standing and how we're choosing to show up in the world. I love it. So with all of those just light things to reflect on, with all of these powerful things that we are taking in and processing, do you have a starting place, a tip, a tool, something that we can take with us, put on our action sheet, or reflect on to help us keep this in mind, keep that focus, and align with it?
Well, at the end of the chapter, there's 3 golden nuggets. In fact, Dr. Cass had every author at the end of the chapter list 3 golden nuggets. So I'll just name one of them. It's the second golden nugget. And I use it, I call it using the 3 Ds of listening. Listen diversely, listen deeply, and listen determinedly. I don't know if determinedly is a word or not, but I made it up. And so first of all, listen diversely. The greater diversity in the voices that you bring into the conversation, that you bring into the decision-making process, the better the decision and better the implementation will go. For example, if you're having high-level business meetings on what should we do about this or that, do you invite the secretary to come in and give her perspective on how this decision would play out? If you're talking about what do we need to do about the building or the physical maintenance, do you have the janitor come in and give his perspective on the decision? Do you have the groundskeeper come in and say, what do you think about the business? What's your perspective? The broader and the deeper we can have our voices be part of the conversation, better the decision. Listen, when I say listen deeply, that means really, you're not just checking off the box. Oh yeah, I need to have some DEI, so I'll do this, I need to do this. It's not just checking the box, it's really trying to get their perspective, understanding things from their point of view, from their lived experience. And the last one is listen determinedly. That means with determination that I'm going to listen to what they say, and to the degree that I can, or that we can, we will implement those ideas, we'll implement the changes. Now, some changes might take a long time, maybe some changes might not be feasible, maybe an element of there might be. But if we listen with not just checking off the box, but let's see how can we incorporate these ideas into the organization, you're just going to have an order of magnitude better decision-making process and implementation process. Remember, it's the human beings who have to implement those decisions.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much. And I like you have the 3 Ds. I think that's powerful, and it's my favorite number. So extra credit for that. Good bullet point that you chose of the golden nuggets. But I love that because you're right. We don't always bring all the parties in that we should when we're looking at these things and get that perspective. So I think that's really, really great advice. And can you share your contact information for people that want to go deeper and connect with you further?
Let me just add one more little thing that I forgot. So in diversely, you want to bring in who is going to be affected by the decision, who has to implement the decision. You need to get their voices. And my contact information is, you can go to my website, Robin, R-O-B-I-N, Robin Learning Systems, or robin@robinlearningsystems.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we got another little ping. So we got one final question. We'll come back if we have time, because I want to make sure I'm honoring everybody's schedule and time, and everybody's just had such rich sharing. So for the person who sent in the question for Robin, if Robin, you could share your contact information one more time, just in case we don't have time.
Okay, it's Robin, R-O-B-I-N, learningsystems.com, or robin@robinlearningsystems.com.
Fabulous. Thank you. And if we do, I promise I'll be right back, but I just want to make sure that we honor everyone's schedule. So thank you so much for sharing, Robin. I deeply appreciate it. And Dr. Cass, I wanted to, because I promised also, I've got to honor all my promises here. So I promised I would bring her back on the end. And I just wanted to, if she had a final thought that she wanted to share. We are getting close on time, Dr. Cass, so just so you're aware of that, but a final share on your heart as you take in everything that's been shared. And then breaking news, she has an amazing opportunity, because perhaps as you're watching all of this unfold, you're thinking, wow, I want to be part of something like that. Well, she has an opportunity like that. So I wanted to make sure you knew about that. If you're feeling that pull and that call in your heart, a little bit about that. And it's something that you could add to that list of doing and being part of a project like this. So with that, Dr. Cass.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all my fellow co-authors. And Rebecca, this has been an amazing journey, but it is a continuing journey. And I look forward to us taking this journey hand in hand forward all around the world, because we are from all over. And my closing thoughts for our audience here is I want you to take a moment and think about telling yourself who you are. Not what you do, not where you were born, not what you believe, all of those stuff. Who are you? And try writing a paragraph to introduce yourself to yourself on who you are. Because too many times in the Western culture, we tie who we are to what we do. And when that what we do gets taken away, we lose our identity. Nothing happens until you anchor your identity in a way that it is you and you alone who influences it, and you alone who ignites it. And from there comes your influence. So my advice, my guidance, my coaching tip for the day is write down for yourself who you are. And the next time when people ask you to introduce yourself, the first 2 sentences introduce who you are, then say your name, and then say what you do. Because who you are is the most important presence about you, because it's not just what you do, it's the very essence of your soul. And it's from that soul, your truth, your collaboration, your ability to love yourself, ability to forgive yourself, all comes from there. So having said that, the opportunity for us to work together, if you are so interested, is the anthology, the multi-author book I am leading for 2023. And it is titled Cultivating Our Shared Prosperity. We're living at a time where if we don't come together to consciously, intentionally build a self-healing ecosystem, and if everything each of us do in our world, in our field, is not integrated, so that the complex problems are not flying in the face of each other's solutions, then we can truly create a world where we are learning and we are leading and we are leaving a legacy. So the book is titled Cultivating Our Shared Prosperity, Learn, Lead, Leave a Legacy. And if you are called to take the journey of teaching and learning, and from that, being able to lead and leave a legacy and build a better world that behooves us and our future generations, please get in touch with me, because there is no time like now to do what we need to do. And this is truly the single most important call of our times today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your powerful tip. I love that exercise, and I am excited about your forthcoming anthology and leaning in. It's going to be on my reading list. I'm looking forward to it. And I know all of you who lean in to be part of it will be powerfully served and serve as we lean in to come together, cultivate, nourish, and grow prosperity in a powerful and sustainable way. And I love that about this book and what you're creating and bringing forward. So thank you, Dr. Kasturi. Thank you, all of our amazing experts that were able to join us today. Thank you, all of our listeners and viewers that are participating and sharing. And I want to encourage you to keep this going. It wasn't just something you watched, but something I want you to really do something, be something as a result of what we have created here today. We created this with you, co-creation. And you can choose what you bring forward. You can choose the ripple that you're going to create. So really take to heart this wisdom, these insights, these activities. Separate that list. Choose what you're nourishing, what you're bringing forward. And we can't wait to hear from you. We'd love to connect with you. Please reach out. Please share out. If you share, we'd love for you to share this out into the world. If you share, please share what you're claiming, what you're doing, what message you want to go out in the world with it, and tag us, and we'll re-echo and share that out and stand with you. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's continue to ennoble each other. Let's really put these practices into our life, into how we're being, so that we can do all that we're called to do and create. It has been an honor to share this space and time with all of you. I hope you have an amazing day, whichever day in the world it is for you, morning or night, that it just is powerful for you. Continue the momentum, and we look forward to talking to you next time. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the day.